Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Judge Her Not. And on this episode, I wanted to talk about when is the right time to call it and exit. When do you say you've done absolutely everything necessary to try and save your relationship and finally call it? This is a very sensitive topic, and I'm going to be brutally honest on this episode. Not because this is directed at anyone in particular, nor is it directed at any gender, but because I'm 100% passionate about raising kids in a healthy and safe environment, which is the whole point of my platform in the first place. So, as always, I am Kat, and welcome to Judge or Not. This is a safe platform of zero judgment and 100% support as a community of parents who continue to raise healthy and emotionally balanced children. I thought about this topic because I felt before we can start focusing on healthy parenting, the parties involved need to be in the right state of mind. And a lot of the time, when the relationship ends, these parties find themselves in limbo. Perhaps they're living with a feeling of guilt, shame, or even the feelings of anger, and you're going back and forth wondering what you could have done better. As long as they constantly keep looking at the rearview mirror, it is almost next to impossible to start looking forward and focusing on themselves and the children. So I wanted to talk about some of the reasons most relationship ends in the first place. Perhaps you can use this to assess your own situation, and maybe this will give you some form of closure that you're looking for, and you can start looking forward. This episode is inspired by two podcasts that I listened to in the last couple of weeks. And if you don't already know this about me, I am a big fan of podcasts. I listen to podcasts at every given opportunity. So whether I'm working out, I'm cooking, or cleaning around the house. If this is not something you're already doing, I'm going to highly recommend that you take this as a takeaway from this episode and add listening to podcasts to your routine for 2025. Not only are you going to learn from a vast majority of topics, it also helps to improve your human relations. So you get to understand yourself better, you understand people and know why people do what they do, and it's going to help you to better manage your own emotions so that your emotions are not triggered by people's actions or inaction. That said, this particular episode that I listened to, unfortunately, I don't remember the host name nor the title, but the host talked about three different reasons why most relationships fail in the first place. And I think it's very interesting thought that I wanted to bring to you on this episode so that you can assess your own situation and hopefully you can start looking into your future. They are grouped into three different scenarios, and I'm not talking about the popular ones like cheating, lying. This is what I would call aftermath. So cheating, lying, abuse, they are aftermath or what I would call end products that stem from these fundamental reasons. So scenario one is the wrong person puts up a fake appearance and they attract the right person, and then they find themselves in a relationship or marriage. But because this person is putting up a fake appearance, over time the mask is going to wear off and person B is going to wake up and see person A for exactly who they are. This is often the case in most abusive relationships. Scenario two is the right person meets the right person. They both have genuine intention and they fall in love and find themselves in a relationship. But unfortunately, these parties or one of them has childhood trauma that has never been addressed. And this can make their relationship very difficult to manage because oftentimes maybe the parties are not even aware of this problem. Not until they identify the problem, acknowledge that there is problem and take steps towards healing, it's going to be difficult to manage your relationship because chances are they do have different communication styles or they do have different attachment styles. And I am not an expert and I'm not going to get into psychology, but if you don't know anything about attachment style, go read up about it. I think these are key fundamental things that people need to understand before even getting into a relationship in the first place. And most people have zero awareness of these things. Scenario three is the right person reads the wrong signal and they assume that the feeling is mutual and forces a relationship. This is typical among friends. So maybe friends, they find themselves in this relationship for a long time. One thing leads to another, and all of a sudden they are in this undefined relationship. Maybe sometimes they are even forced because a child is involved. You will find that one party constantly keeps overcompensating in the relationship. This is typically the party that is interested, and the other party is probably putting zero effort or very minimal effort in the relationship. Also, that party that is putting in minimal effort because they didn't want to be here in the first place, they're constantly feeling like something is missing in their relationship. So they're constantly on the hunt for something new, different, something shiny. And unfortunately, this is where you find that in a relationship, there is constant cheating or lying. And this party is going to keep giving until there's nothing to give anymore. So the relationship is going to be very one sided. Having talked about these three different scenarios, a lot of the time what happens is resentment starts to set in from these different scenarios, and it could also lead to the relationship being very toxic for all the parties involved. This is the point where I start to get concerned. When the safety, the health, and the well-being of the parties involved is getting compromised, I start to worry, and I think that's the point folks need to start asking themselves the serious question. Because not only is this negative energy being passed to the children can see this tension going on in this relationship. And our main concern is focusing on raising healthy and emotionally strong children in a safe environment. So when the environment is no longer safe, you have to start asking yourself the right question. And I once talked to a mentor who said, your relationship should either help you grow or is dragging you down. You have to ask yourself at some point, is my partner helping me to grow or is my partner dragging me down? When you're in a relationship with someone who has problem, I give you an example of gambling problem, for instance. If that party doesn't recognize that they have a problem in the first place, no matter what you do, you're never going to be able to save that person. So you're going to have to recognize that you win some, you lose some. In some cases, some people don't even want to be saved. So you cannot continue to love somebody to love you, right? If they don't want to be saved, you have to give it up at some point and choose yourself. I also liken relationship to bodily injury. Physical injury you can quantify and see exactly what is happening. But bodily injury, it is only that party that has that injury that will be able to tell you where exactly it hurts. The same goes for a relationship. You are in your relationship. You have to ask yourself, is my relationship still serving me? Have I reached my limit? And I'm also going to say this is not the time to go Michelle Obama on them to say when they go low, you go high. When they go low, they're going to constantly keep dragging you low. There is no going high with someone who is dealing with addiction and they don't want to be saved in the first place. So when they go low, you exit. That is the best thing you can do. And it has to get to a point where you love this person from a distance with the love of Christ and you hope they get the care and the help they need someday. But you're not going to put yourself in that situation and trying to help that person or save that person. You are not a savior. And if you're still struggling with answering some of the most important questions in your relationship, I'd like to leave you with this powerful message from the second podcast that inspired this episode. It's a podcast from Mel Robbins titled Letting Go of the Things That No Longer Serve You. I find that podcast really very helpful. So go listen when you have the chance. In that episode, Mel gave a powerful analogy between trees and the leaves. And if you live in North America during seasonal changes, the tree starts to lose their leaves. And I like to believe that during the summer and spring months, they do have a good relationship where the leaves is bringing in the energy from the sunlight and the tree supplying water. But as the season changes, it becomes hard to get water because the ground is dry. And the tree recognizes that if it continues to supply the leaves water, it's going to get to a point where the tree is going to be sucked dry. So the tree chooses itself and let the leaves go. So I like to ask you in your relationship, are you the tree or are you the leaves? I hope you find this episode really helpful to get the closure that you were looking for and be able to forgive yourself or your ex-partner and start looking forward.